Hey Saber fans, it's Aaron of A&W Saber Services here, and I have another Saber reveal for you today. Imagine that. This was probably one of the more complicated pain in the butt installs I've ever done. It is a crossguard 2.0 with the accuracy kit. You'll notice the blade plugs. It's got that nice... That wire is so much better than the stock one. And of course the clasps look so much better. That nice brass clip, oh, it's so much better. Painted the ring to match it a little better for accuracy. It's got the Goth 3D pommel insert. These are the stock pieces for the emitter. Of course you got your blue wire there for accuracy from the KR kit. These were painted, of course. Used a bright gunmetal paint. The last one that I did, I used a slight misting of black spray paint over it, but I just went with silver on this one. But the real feature of this is the chassis. The chassis I used on this was none other than Goth 3 Designs, but it wasn't the apprentice chassis. The master chassis. And when I say that this was one of the most difficult installs I've done, I mean that. I mean that to the fullest of the word, because there's no room. Like, you have to, there is only one way to install this if you want to resistor it. You know, with NeoPixel it might be a little easier, considering you don't have to worry about resistors, they're all on the blades. But there's no room for the resistors, because whenever you push the metal core back up in there, you know, it sits pretty flush with up here. And I know on Goth's tutorial it says to, you know, trim down this top section here underneath the shroud to make room for wires. Well, you're going to have to trim down a lot for that to work properly. And I didn't really want to do that for multiple reasons. I found an alternate way to do it. And the master chassis has a little bit of gap on the back side of the crystal chamber to where you can fit some SMD resistors. And thankfully, they have SMD resistors in 1.2 ohm and 1 ohm for red and white. And they go all the way up to 3 watts. Perfect, right? Well, it's still a tight fit. I was able to get it to where I had, you know, one resistor for each red. Sorry, for each dual red, since it's red, red, white, red, red, white, red, red, white. So I have one resistor for each set of reds, and I have one ohm resistor for the white, and one ohm resistor for both whites here. Since it's only flash on clash, I figured it would be fine, and it will, because the other last one was. But, like I said, there's just enough room behind the chassis for those resistors. And leave enough slack, bring your leads up, down through here, push your chassis up in there, leave enough room down here. You know, it's just a total pain in the butt to install, period. Because, I mean, you know, you have to clear out the inside diameter of this, because there's a little lip going all the way around for a 28 millimeter to fit. Granted, it's worth it, but it's such a pain. It can be quite time consuming. And you also have to trim off that inner core. You have to take, you know, you can take a hacksaw to it, that's what I do, and cut off 7 millimeters just for it to go. Now, me personally, I find that it needs somewhere around 10 millimeters, depending on the insert you're using. If you're using the Goth insert, you can get away with 7, for sure. If you're using the stock insert, which is taller, you're going to have to go longer. Just FYI. Now, I am using the stock red greeblies because I already had those made up by the time that I was sent the 3D printed ones, and I was not going to redo that, period. So, I mean, this has the ability to come right out. Got that cool little feature in case you ever need to remove the chassis. It's still functional. The accuracy kit, of course, includes this. Very nice. I love the black on this over the silver overall. It's great. The blade plugs are great. They block out a lot of the light. Since I am using 632 blade retention here, it does create a little bit of a gap of light in there. I'm not going to pull out the blades just because there's not really a point. All you're going to see is the delayed ignition, and you can see that in my other crossguard 2.0 videos. It's pretty much the exact same config, Prizm, red, white, whatever. Of course, there's no shine through on this 832 set screw there. Now one thing I enjoy doing, well, I can't say I enjoy it, but one of the things that I do is there's actually a set screw, and you can see it if you look behind the shroud. There's a set screw right there behind the shroud. That's for the main LED retention. There's also 2 set screws behind this shroud. Barely see it there. It's pretty much at the end of this, and whenever it meets that smaller end. That's for the side LED retention. I tried to use E6000 for retention on that first. Didn't like it, so I stuck with the set screws because it's hardware. It's not glue. So, and I did use the Rogue Arsenal heat sinks, but I used them a little differently this time. Instead of trimming down the LEDs a massive amount just for it to fit in that little hole, which is a total PIA, I just flipped it around and adhered them with tape pads, of course, to the actual heat sink. And then the inside, it leaves additional space for whatever wire. I don't care. That was a flaw in manufacturing. Personally, those could have been designed better, could have been executed better, like more along the lines of how KR did them. But yeah, I think I've yapped about long enough. Without further ado, I also adhered these 2 pieces together nice and solid. You know, there's no shaking anywhere. I also adhered this back shroud to the core as well. There's that wonderful master chassis. Polished brass, gold-plated steel, brass-plated steel, I believe. More polished brass right there. Absolutely beautiful. You can kind of see the focusing area right there. There's a red LED in there, which flickers, and then the main LED, which is red, and flash on clash. And you'll also notice that I used a set screw right here for chassis retention. That's because I don't want this moving at all because of that switch. If this moves, that switch ain't going to contact. So with it being completely flush against the metal here and on the bottom, you have perfect access. Works perfect. So this is sporting a 28mm Veco, and yeah, let's fire it up for you.
Anything else?
No, I think I covered everything, Kylo. You notice the focusing, almost like it's ready to ignite, out of idle mode. This is the KSIF font with the staggered power arms. Even has the staggered bolt, which I love that. Not going to be able to see anything through there because it does really well. But and then it goes back to idle.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
So yeah, wonderful saber. Not wonderful to install. So I believe that was, I can't remember what the last one was. I think this is unhinged. Yeah, definitely.
I'll show you the dark side.
Back to K-Sys font. One thing I like about K-Sys font is that it has two different hums. So this is the more naturally flowing one. So it's kind of hard to see the flash on flash, but I assure you it is there. It is set up to where it has kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Has the layered, I guess you could say, flash on flash, where it doesn't, just go to white. It's mixing with the reds, so. So you do have recharge port, SD card access if you can see it there. You can get at it with a pair of tweezers, but that's about it. So this puppy's solid. And I did this install for Mr. Sean Geiger. It was a personal install for him. And I'm glad that he let me do it, but I'm also a little relieved that it's finally over. This has taken me weeks to do, and this honestly was one of those installs that I was dreading from the get-go, and I finally was able to, I worked on it a little bit, said screw it for a while, worked on it a little bit, said screw it for a while, worked on it for a little bit, and then realized the initial resistors weren't going to work because there's no room, so I got the SMD resistors and they worked, and that gave me my boost that I needed, and I finished it up next day. I was like, okay, well, I'm moving, so you might see the change in scenery. I was like, okay, I want to finish this before I move. So yesterday I just knocked it out. I was like, okay, so all I got to do is wire up the resistors and run the wires and make it all fit. And it fit, and it's freaking lovely. Granted, I never want to do another one like this again. And, honestly, I would be willing to say I am never going to do one like this again. I would maybe consider it if somebody was going to pay me a literal fuck ton of labor, pardon my French. But aside from that, I'm not going to be doing another one of these for the same price that I do for a regular Prizm at my set fees for labor. And granted, it's a beautiful saber. I mean, it's got a great weight to it. It's fairly bulky. I mean, you can see I got fairly long fingers, but it still reaches over to my index finger knuckle. And it's a wonderful saber if you get all of the accuracy mods for it and you get the install done just right. Like the Goth inserts, the accuracy kit. I've seen that new gash insert that came out recently, which I'll probably be doing for a client. And I have one more that I'm going to do with an apprentice chassis, and that's only because I promised the guy a couple months ago that I would do his. So after that, I think actually I'm going to call it. I'm not doing any more of these because these are just way too time consuming, and I see other installers, they gauge their work based off of interest and if it excites them, if they want to do it. And I never thought that way. I thought, hey, it's work, I need to do it, to further the hobby and make money at the same time and do something until this. It's something I enjoy. Honestly, I did enjoy this after it was done. I'm enjoying it now. But the whole process, I just am not a fan of this saber at all, just to be right honest. Well, not the saber. I'm not a fan of the Korbanth one. I imagine the Phoenix props is amazing because, I mean, come on, it unscrews up here and that's just crystal reveal. It's like, whoa, that is amazing. But the price, that's what turns me off from it. Now, I have recently seen the light. That's kind of funny. Phoenix props the light. And, you know, while it's just as bulky, I'm kind of glad that I backed out of that pre-order. Just because I wasn't, you know, just like, whoa, this is awesome. Not like the first time I held a Vader's Vault. So I'm kind of glad I backed out of that one, because $500 for an empty that's not going to blow your mind it's not going to happen for me. I mean, I think the most expensive empty I have is my Tusken Slayer, and that one did blow my mind. I went straight back to being a little kid, like, oh my god, this is awesome. And, you know, I got it secondhand, and I was still blown away. As soon as I got that, I was like, yes, I'm in on the Dark Lord run for Watto's Junkyard. For sure, 100%. I'm not going without that, because I already know of the quality. Even if it's a little larger, I already know the quality is going to be amazing, because it's Watto's Junkyard. I mean, come on. They produce some, granted they're new, but they are, wow. For me, the Tusken Slayer sold me. And I mean, the Night Brother looks awesome too. The Savage Oppress saber, and you know, it all looks great. So yeah, Sean, I hope you enjoy this crossguard. A lot of time, anger, and happiness went into this, more so than my usual install. Usually I enjoy an install to some extent, but this I did not enjoy until it was actually finished. It was a total PIA. And I would like to say a big, big shout out to Goth for the amazing chassis you designed. Granted, you didn't have a lot to work with, hint, hint, but you really pulled it off, man. That's a great chassis. And the accuracy kit from Cal? Yeah, it's got to be Call. It sounds cooler. Over at KR Sabers, wow. Just this wire alone and the brass, wow. That's sold right. Oh, can't forget this black button. That's honestly, I feel like Korbanth and KR should have just like teamed up. Be like, okay, well, you're gonna have to raise your price by like $80, but you're gonna get the accuracy kit with it versus that stock crap. And I imagine that for Goth wasn't too hard to design, the pommel insert and, you know, these inserts that I didn't use. But still great work on them, man. A little bit of paint on a white one and it shines up quite well. Blade plugs. I like the blade plugs. The blade plugs are really cool too, because they actually unscrew at the bottom so you can have them shine through if you want. But I left them screwed in so I didn't blind anybody. And yeah, it turned out to be a great install. I'm looking forward to never doing another master chassis in one of these again. Because, oh yeah, and that back part right there, that backing is steel as well. And this does have the Prizm 5.1, so if I had NeoPixel, I would have said, no, get me a 5.5, make it happen, or I will send it to Michael and have him update it, because the flame and unstable on this would be awesome. Now, the other crossguard I'm doing for the guy that I promised it to, that will have NeoPixel, and it'll have a Profi in it. So that's going to be nice. That's going to be really nice. It'll be the first crossguard I do with smooth swing functions, but pair it with K-Sys fonts, yeah, that's going to be nice. And the fact that I don't have to worry about resistors since it's NeoPixel, Ooh, that's going to be really nice. It's going to have removable battery, you know. Actually, no, I lied. It's going to have a fixed battery, but hey, it's whatever the customer wants, right? And of course, the Goth chassis, he has the gash insert, so I'll be doing that among the other mods for like the speaker. He has the printed part for that. He has the accuracy kit. It's going to shape up to be a beautiful saber whenever it's done. And he even has the proplicator, unstable blades. So yeah, that's going to be pretty freaking sick. You know, I'm even making the blade for him too, so it's going to be an all-in-one package. You know, I shot him the estimate, and he told me his price budget, and he was all for it. I was like, frick yeah, man. Of course, my install list is a little large right now, so I told him 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll see where I'm at. I'm sure I'll be ready for some more commissions at that point, but yeah, I think I've yapped long enough.
I'll show you the dark side.
Once more for you guys. Oh, I did it in stunt. Whoops. Yep, that's my saber reveal for the crossguard 2.0 with Master Chassis. I hope if anybody decides to do one of these, that this video helped as far as pulling it off and making your life a little easier. Those SMD resistors are mandatory. Completely mandatory. Unless you work it into the chassis somewhere, I don't see anywhere else to get it done. But hope you enjoyed it. I think I went over everything I possibly could have here. And until the next time, Saber fans, may the Force be with you always.